I do see a way. There is a narrow way through.
I'm gonna have to give you some context first. I love movies, but I also love my sleep. So story time, I was lucky enough to watch Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour concert in Singapore, and I had the best night of my life. The show ended at around 10:30, but heading back took a whole hour, and there was a Man City match that we wanted to watch at an Irish bar. So long story short, I went to sleep at 4. Now you're probably wondering, what the heck does this have to do with Dune 2? Well, I come from a country where we don't have the luxury of getting to watch Dune or many other movies. And of course, I wanted to experience it in IMAX. But as expected, all the good seats were booked out for weeks, so we decided to book a 9 a.m. viewing of Dune the morning after the Eras Tour concert. And when I tell you I struggled. I love my sleep. I cannot function without a good night's sleep of at least 8 hours. I'm the type of person who can lay their head down and sleep instantly. And because of this, I never choose to watch a movie when I'm tired because I know no matter how good it is, sleep will always win. But we had no choice because this was our only opportunity to watch Dune Part 2 in IMAX. And guess what? It was just so freaking good, I could not fall asleep. This is the only movie that has this control over me. And mind you, I was running on 4 hours of sleep. Yeah, that's saying something. The writing, the cinematography, the music, the sound, the acting, everything was a sensorial treat. So because I don't want anyone to miss out on the opportunity of watching one of my favorite movies in recent years, here's a breakdown on Dune Part 1, followed by a breakdown of Dune Part 2. If you haven't watched Part 2 yet, you can stop after the first movie breakdown and come back when you're ready. So hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, this is Silver Screen Freak, and as my name suggests, I am a freak for all things movies and TV shows. If you're into that kind of thing, let's be friends. So back to it. So Dune is an epic science fiction film directed and co-produced by Denis Villeneuve, who is the genius behind Arrival and Blade Runner 2049, which happen to be two of my favorite movies ever. If you have not watched those, I highly recommend you do. Dune is based off of the 1965 novel of the same name by Frank Herbert, and essentially it's a movie set in the distant future that follows Paul Atreides as his family, the House Atreides, is pushed into a war with the Harkonnen over the deadly and inhospitable desert planet Arrakis. So what makes Arrakis so highly coveted? It is the sole source of spice, a valuable psychotropic substance that imparts heightened vitality and awareness. Spice is key to interstellar travel, giving Spacing Guide navigators the ability to guide starships to traverse space instantaneously and safely. It's basically like oil and drugs for us people in 2024. Anyways, so the Emperor Shaddam IV, who we do not see at all in the first movie, assigns Duke Leto Atreides to replace Baron Vladimir Harkonnen as the ruler of Arrakis. But this emperor is a real sneaky snake because he essentially does this to get the Harkonnen to basically exterminate the Atreides. Now, why exactly does he do this? We get his answer in the sequel. Leto's baby mama is Lady Jessica, who's part of this witchy group called the Bene Gesserit, an exclusive sisterhood whose members possess advanced physical and mental abilities. They can do a lot of stuff, basically. They have a lot of power. And because of this, they also have the power to choose the gender of their babies. And the Bene Gesserits order Lady Jessica to bear a girl, who they believe would then give birth to a boy who would become the Kwisatz Haderach, the Messiah, the Chosen One. Basically, they believe that this boy would guide humanity to a better future because he would wield the powers that the Bene Gesserits hold, as well as the power of patriarchy behind him as well. But Lady Jessica decides to do the exact opposite because she's in love with Leto, who wants a boy, and so we have Paul. And he gets trained very well in the art of swordsmanship by his aides Duncan Idaho and Gurney Halleck. And we also see he's clairvoyant and he sees a lot of visions of Zendaya in slow motion. So the head of the Bene Gesserits, the Reverend Mother, visits Paul and makes him do a death alternative Gom Jabbar test. It's a test to assess his humanity and impulse control. And if he fails, he dies. And if he passes, then it suggests that maybe he could be their chosen one. Because of this, she tells the Baron, who she knows is going to try and assassinate Paul, Jessica, and everybody. She tells the Baron to spare Paul and Jessica, to which the Baron duplicitously agrees. Just looking at him, he does not look like a man of his word. And also, I thought these people were supposed to be clairvoyant. Shouldn't they know what he's gonna do and not do? But anyways, that's besides the point. So there's that. So House Atreides arrives at Arrakeen, the fortress stronghold on Arrakis. Duncan Idaho, who is the swordsmaster who trains Paul, contacts the Fremen, the natives of Arrakis, who are basically colonized by the Emperor and are forced to produce spice for him. The natives, they revere Paul and Jessica, which Lady Jessica explains is due to the Bene Gesserit's sowing beliefs on Arrakis centuries earlier. Basically, there's a prophecy that an outsider there would come and basically free the Fremen and take them to paradise. So Leto negotiates with Fremen chieftain Stilgar and meets the Imperial Judge of the Change, Dr. Kynes, who lives amongst the Fremen. Kynes briefs them on the dangers of spice harvesting and most importantly on the giant sandworms which travel under the desert and can just swallow you whole. So during a flight, they rescue a stranded spice harvesting crew from a sandworm, and Paul's exposure to the spice triggers intense premonitions. Dr. Wellington Yueh, who is the trusted personal physician of Duke Leto, betrays the Atreides and disables Arakan shields, which allows the Harkonnens and Sardaukar, who are the Emperor's army, to invade. So yes, not only did the Emperor do this to manipulate and get the Harkonnens to kill the Atreides, but he's also sending his own personal army to help and assist. So Dr. Yueh incapacitates Leto, planning to exchange him for his wife, who is the Baron's prisoner. But before doing so, Yueh replaces one of Leto's teeth with a poison gas capsule so that the Duke can assassinate the Baron. Now, after the Baron double-crosses and murders Yueh, Leto releases the gas, killing everybody, including himself, but the Baron. Ugh. Meanwhile, the Baron has also arranged to have Paul and Jessica dropped deep into the desert to die. And before that, a compassionate Yueh had also left them with survival supplies. Jessica uses a Bene Gesserit technique called the Voice to overpower and kill their captors. And overnighting in the desert, Paul, surrounded by spice, has visions of a bloody holy war fought across the universe in his name. After conquering Arrakis, Baron Harkonnen appoints his nephew Rabban to oversee the planet and orders him to restart spice production. Meanwhile, Duncan and Kynes find Jessica and Paul, who discloses his plan to marry one of Emperor Shaddam's daughters to avert a potential civil war arising from the Emperor's betrayal. However, they are discovered by Sardaukar soldiers. Duncan sacrifices himself, enabling Paul and Jessica's escape. Kynes also tries to escape using Fremen tactic, but is caught by the soldiers. She lures the sandworm by pounding on the sand to devour herself and the soldiers. Deep in the desert, Paul and Jessica encounter Stilgar's Fremen tribe, including Chani, who is the woman from Paul's visions. Opposed to Stilgar's lenience towards them, Fremen warrior Jamis challenges Paul to a ritual duel to the death, where Paul wins. Despite Jessica's wishes, Paul joins the Fremen, determined to fulfill his father's goal of allying with them to bring peace to Arrakis. So overall, I really did enjoy this movie. However, I grew up with Star Wars, and now, I realize Star Wars was heavily influenced by Dune, but because I watched Star Wars first, it just kind of felt like, I think I kind of seen this film before kind of vibes, The movie takes a lot of time to give us the time to build the world, give us context, which it needs to do. I mean, I don't know why I was complaining so much when I first watched the movie. I think a big thing that I was critical of in the first movie was it was kind of giving white savior complex because there's the local oppressed people of color needing Timothée Chalamet to free them. And it ends off that way. It ends off with him being like this chosen one to free the people. Now, this is where it gets good because, if you were just to stop at Dune Part 1 and believe that this was the end of the journey for Paul Atreides and the Fremen, then yes, that is exactly what it is. It is a white savior movie, but it's not. And you have to watch Dune Part 2 to understand that. And if you haven't watched Dune Part 2 yet, and don't want spoilers, you can stop the video here, come back later, we can regroup and discuss afterwards. If not, let's get into Dune Part 2. Wow, they bring you right back into the plot with really good natural and unobvious exposition to remind us of what happened in the previous movie. It starts off with Florence Pugh as Princess Irulan Carino, the daughter of Emperor Shaddam IV, secretly recording diary entries that Paul Atreides may still be alive, and if that's the case, her father's in trouble, because he aided in all their deaths by supplying his troops to the Baron. On Arrakis, Stilgar's Fremen troops, which include Paul and Lady Jessica, fight a Harkonnen patrol. At first, the Fremen are suspicious of them for being spies, but Stilgar and a few others see signs of the prophecy that a mother and son from the outer world will bring prosperity to Arrakis. Now remember, this is a prophecy that the Bene Gesserits have bestowed upon the Fremen people from centuries ago. Stilgar informs Jessica that their reverend mother is dying and she must become her replacement by drinking the water of life, a fatal poison for males and the untrained. However, Jessica successfully transmutates the poison, surviving and inheriting the memories of every female ancestor in her lineage. The water also prematurely awakens the mind of her unborn daughter, Alia, allowing Jessica to communicate with her. This is where Lady Jessica starts to lose her marbles in a way. Up until this point, she just looked like the sound of reason, someone who was there to guide and protect Paul, but now she's changed. That woman is no longer there. She's just really getting into her role as the Reverend Mother. So anyways, Lady Jessica with her unborn baby together agree that convincing the skeptical in northern Arrakis of the prophecy should be their first priority. Meanwhile, they do multiple tests on Paul to see if he could actually be the prophet. The more Paul passes these tests, the more the Fremen believe in him, and the more Chani and her friend Shishakli mock the believers, because they believe the prophecy is a bunch of baloney and is designed to control the Fremen. Nevertheless, when Paul delivers a speech about not seeking power but only wanting to fight alongside them, Chani develops respect for him. And at this time, I believe that Paul really means what he says. He isn't just telling Chani what she wants to hear. I mean, that's my wishful thinking. But anyways, meanwhile, Stilgar is like his numero uno hype man, and everyone is just feeding into this belief that Paul really is their messiah. Paul and Chani gradually fall in love as Paul embraces the Fremen ways. He learns the language, takes parts in rites such as riding a sandworm, becoming a Fedaykin fighter, and helping raid Harkonnen spice operations. Paul takes on the Fremen names Usul and Muad'Dib. Because of all the spice raids Paul and the Fremen are doing, Baron Harkonnen replaces his nephew Rabban as Arrakis' ruler with his psychotic, murderous younger nephew Feyd-Rautha. And they know that there is this Fremen called Usul and Muad'Dib who is doing all these raids. However, they at this point do not know that it is actually Paul. And with this, we get this awesome black and white gladiator-like scene to show how vicious and skilled the new ruler Feyd-Rautha is. Lady Margot Fenring, a Bene Gesserit acolyte, is sent to evaluate Feyd's suitability as a prospective Kwisatz Haderach and to seduce him in order to secure his genes. Basically, they are doing to Feyd-Rautha exactly what they did to Paul in the first movie. Jessica travels south to unite with more Fremen fundamentalists and just get everyone more hyped up about Paul. But Paul fears his visions which show him that a holy war will manifest if he goes south as a messiah. He also has another vision of Chani standing with her face melting off. So he's steering clear of the south. He just wants to stay in the north and be happy and merry with Chani. Staying in the north, he also reunites with Gurney Halleck, who leads him to House Atreides' hidden atomic stockpile. Feyd-Rautha then attacks where they're staying in the north and kills Shishakli, which forces the survivors, including Paul, to journey south. Upon arriving, Paul drinks the water of life and falls into a deep coma. Now remember I said that this water of life kills the men and untrained? Well, Paul miraculously wakes up, and now he wakes up with both the knowledge of the past, seeing a vision of an adult Alia on a water-filled Arrakis, and discovering that Jessica is the Baron's daughter, making Paul both an Atreides and a Harkonnen. This to me signifies that these Bene Gesserits have been out there matchmaking everybody for years, and has just been playing everybody like little pawns in a chessboard. And this is where Paul, the sweet dude who was idealistic and just wanted to help the Fremen whilst also wanting to avenge his noble father's death, turns a complete 180. He gets moody and emo and fully takes on the role of Lisan al-Gaib, and Chani's just like, this is not what I signed up for. Because like anyone else like me who feels uncomfortable with the glorified white savior movie or anything to do with fanatical idolism, Chani's a real one and probably developed a huge ick for Paul. So yeah, Paul declares himself the Lisan al-Gaib and sends a challenge to the Emperor Shaddam. Paul's Fremen surround Shaddam's forces and attack using atomics and sandworms. The Sardaukar are overpowered and Paul kills the Baron, getting revenge for his father and friends, and Shaddam and his entourage are taken captive. Gurney intercepts and kills a fleeing Rabban, getting revenge for his friends and family. Before meeting with the Emperor, Paul takes the time to tell Chani that he will love her until his last breath, which to me I thought is like, he was accepting her death because of the last vision he had, which was of her face melting off. But no, it was because right after he tells her that, he turns around and tells the Emperor he will marry Princess Irulan. My jaw dropped because I thought he would have wanted nothing to do with them after killing the Emperor, and that because apparently he's so powerful and probably this messiah-like person, he can do whatever he wants. Like how in Fremen culture, he was actually supposed to kill Stilgar to be the leader, but Paul refuses. He lets Stilgar live and still gets to be the leader. So I was just confused as to why he can't just do things his way, but I guess at the end of the day, all roads lead to politics, am I right? Paul takes this opportunity also to find out why the Emperor wanted his dad dead, and he says something along the lines of, he thought his dad was weak, which I think actually translates to your dad is too cool, too honorable, and too noble. I mean, look at him. He's Oscar Isaac, and I'm a threatened man. Anyways, Fade Rautha volunteers to fight on behalf of the Emperor in a one-on-one duel against Paul. Fade nearly kills Paul, and I really thought Paul was a goner. I was in so much shock. I had to ask my husband, who read the books, if Paul dies, to which he cheekily gave me a, I don't know, shrug. And everyone around, including his mother, who's supposed to know what happens, but evidently, by the look on her face, she's quite shocked, thinks he's a goner. But in a big twist, which I need to rewatch because it happens kind of fast, Paul fatally stabs Fade, and Lady Jessica has this moment with the Reverend Mother, like, haha, I told you. But like from this face a few seconds ago, I don't think she really knew what was going to happen. So now the princess is like, you already killed Rautha, there's no need to kill my dad, I will willingly marry you, and Paul accepts as long as Shaddam kneels and kisses his ring, which he does. But the great houses arrive, and up until now, I kind of thought that they would have Paul's back because he's living proof that the Emperor was the one behind the fall of the House of Atreides. And throughout the movie, this fact was kind of leveraged against him, but no, they refused to accept Paul's ascendancy to the throne. So Paul orders the Fremen to attack. I mean, this guy's probably on an adrenaline rush, plus his ego must be through the roof because now he's just like attacking everybody against him. Thus starts the Holy War. A heartbroken Chani refuses to bow to Paul and departs on a sandworm. So Dune Part 2 felt a lot more action-packed, the webs are all connecting, and I was just blown away. I mean, how could you sleep during any of this? It was just too good. Austin Butler was a perfect addition to Dune. His performance was next level. I mean, color me impressed. Timothée Chalamet always does a phenomenal job, but I really have to commend him for the 180 he had to pull from being this, sweet, humble, noble son of a duke to this. Rebecca Ferguson was another standout performance, from a person who always seemed like the voice of reason to this creepy culty witch-like figure. And Harvey Bardem's Stilgar was the perfect and right amount of comic relief. And I just love how ridiculous Stilgar and the other believers look at trying to prove Paul is the Messiah. I think it's great commentary on the dangers of idolizing a person, giving so much power to them and following blindly. Now, full disclaimer, I don't know what happens next in Dune. I have not read the books, and I have not looked it up on the internet, but based off of where we were left off, I predict a tragic end for Paul. Probably he even goes more psycho with his mom and ends up destroying everything. As Harvey Dent put it, you either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. Also, this is kind of echoing Star Wars Episode 2 with Anakin having his visions of Padme dying, and he tries his best to stop it, but everything he does takes him one step further to get to that point. He thought he was going to be a hero, but he ends up being the villain. So I think we're going to see a lot of that as well. There's so much more I want to say about this film. I'm going to be making separate videos for those, so look out for them when I publish them. And let me know down in the comments what you thought about Dune Part 1 and 2, and I'll see you next time. Till then, stay freaky. Bye!